Oh, Verity versus Rebecca. Good thing I've got my coffee here. This will be a long chat. Hi, this is Maria from Read Fine Books, and today we are discussing two very interesting novels. They are both suspenseful, both full of twists and turns. They both kept me on the edge of my seat. Both writers are acclaimed, and these books have been bestsellers. Of course, Rebecca is a classic and has never been out of print ever since publishing, but Verity is so controversial and so well known today. I feel we need to discuss them both because while they are both very well written, I cannot help but notice lots and lots of similarities. So, let's discuss. Of course, there will be spoilers ahead. I'm sure you wouldn't have clicked on this video if you hadn't already read them both. If you didn't, I urge you to right now. I think you'll find this discussion quite interesting. However, you will have spoilers. And part of the beauty of these books are the plot twists, so don't spoil that for yourself. First of all, they are first person narrations, both of them, and I think that is a big plus. In both cases, we identify with the narrator, we only know what she knows when she knows it, and that contributes, of course, to the fear factor and the suspense, as I said. So, this way, it's easier to get immersed in the story and feel all the feelings of the narrator and of this way of the author as well. And that is another similarity between them. Suspense is a killer. The first person narration contributes to the suspense because we start knowing nothing, and what we find out only terrifies us. They are also both very fast paced. I finished them in one sitting and I couldn't get enough of them. Rebecca reeled me in with all the nature and gloom specific to the Gothic style, but Verity had its spicy stuff and, of course, all the deadly thoughts. Another thing quite obvious is the name of the books, because Rebecca and Verity are the wives, not the actual narrators. And of course, that is the name of the books because the wives are the really intriguing characters. They are the ones that excite in us all the controversy, all the mixed thoughts, and the awe and the fear, of course. In both of them, we get a very insecure narrator. Lowen is humbled by Verity's success as an author, and she constantly compares her writing with hers, while the second, Mrs. De Winter, always compares herself with Rebecca's status and upbringing, and of course, manners and what she knows about running a manor. The contrast between the narrator and the wives is even more intriguing when we think about the husbands. You know, I mean, how can a person fall in love with such completely different people? Because the husbands do fall in love madly at first with Rebecca and Verity, and afterwards they kind of switch to 100 degrees and fall in love with a completely different personality type. And this kind of contrast is what contributes to the narrator's feeling of inadequacy and of intimidation, insecurity in the face of the wife character. And then we go to the financial troubles. The narrators have them, the wives don't. Lowen has bills to pay and no home. That is why she so easily accepts to go to Jeremy Crawford's house and stay there a while. At the same time, the second Mrs. De Winter at first was a paid companion to Mrs. Van Hopper. That is just one step up from being a servant, actually. And she has no money, no connections, nothing. Financial situation is a major contributor to how insecure they feel. That is natural. It is what makes the second Mrs. De Winter not hesitant to change her status, even though she knows Maxim De Winter might still be grieving his ex-wife. It is also what keeps her humble and not able to run the house, not able to change anything, not able to impose herself in front of servants, and she's not able to make a full and deep impression like Rebecca had in front of neighbors when they come to visit. She doesn't actually feel like Mrs. De Winter. She feels like an imposter taking Rebecca's place all the time. She doesn't even have the courage to change anything in the way Rebecca had arranged everything at Manderley. And on the other hand, Lowen takes the job as co-author of Verity's novels, forced by her financial situation, and the entire plot of Verity hinges on the fact that she is unable to move out of the house when all the situation there becomes weird. Another interesting fact is that both narrators are portrayed as the caregiving type. First, Lowen cares about her mother in the months before she passes away because of cancer, and Mrs. De Winter is, of course, a companion, even though a paid one, is a companion, and she endures and treats kindly her benefactor, Mrs. Van Hopper. Both cases, they are portrayed as caregivers, and that makes us love them, care for them, and we put them all the more in contrast with the wives. And that is even more necessary in Lowen's case because she becomes a mistress all the while the wife is comatose and in the house. And of course, the mistress status is a condemned one. So the fact that she cares for her mother makes her a more complex character, even more lovable and interesting. So even though flawed, we still root for her and not for Verity. Another similarity is how society judges our narrators. In both cases, the narrators give off a feeling of being alone against the world. They have no friends, no allies. Mrs. De Winter, of course, has an ally in Maxim's sister, but she doesn't know everything and she comes along a bit late in the story. Lowen, on the other hand, remains isolated completely. The feeling of loneliness they both give is a bit overwhelming and augments our fears. It is also intensified by the way the wife's friends are judgmental or even rude to the narrator. Of course, the two are in completely different situations due to their status. One is a legitimate wife, one is a mistress, but in both cases they feel like outsiders not fitting in no matter how hard they try to. The similarity number 8, the imperfect love story between the wife and the husband. This is something the narrators infer. Lowen infers it from the manuscript, and the second Mrs. De Winter infers it from discussing Rebecca with servants and neighbors. So they both get this picture of the marriage being a perfect one, and of course, the husbands then shatter that image and make them understand they are the ones that are their true love and the marriage was never good. Of course, that is not entirely true, right? Because there was, in both cases, a lot of passion at the beginning, that died out very quickly when the couples discovered that they don't really fit in personalities and in desires, and both husbands feel that the second relationship suits them a lot better, and they make that very clear to the narrators. What is not clear and what we tend to judge is why they stayed, why they continued the relationship, and that contributes to them being terrible people, because there is in reality absolutely no reason to remain in a marriage for so long if you don't enjoy it, no matter what they say. Of course, that is the least of their problems character wise. Another similarity is that both Rebecca and Verity are portrayed as psychopaths. Obviously, they are both vicious so that our heroines can be more lovable. But while Rebecca has some cruel moments and doesn't really love her husband, she is in reality just promiscuous. On the other hand, Verity seems absolutely evil. She must be, because Lowen is an imperfect mistress, while the second Mrs. De Winter is just shy and inexperienced, thus more easily lovable. So the contrast between the narrator and the wife differs in the book, but it is there. And the more the contrast, the more the wife becomes a psychopath. What they both master is pretending to be angels and charm everyone outside of their marriage. The art of maintaining appearances is at the highest level with both of them. The 10th similarity I have found is in the allies they have. Both Verity and Rebecca have a nurse and a head housekeeper, respectively, who take care of them and antagonize further the narrators. While Verity's nurse is a sane person, and her point of view is that in the house there is a young girl that tries to sleep with her patient's husband while her patient is lying comatose. Um, and this point of view is a very sane one. She makes us understand her dislike with the attitudes she has towards Lowen. She's just a bit disagreeable as a character, and all our hatred goes towards Verity directly. On the other hand, in Rebecca, Mrs. Danvers is an evil person all on her own. She seems a bit insane due to Rebecca's death that left clear marks on her character, and she does whatever she can to protect Rebecca's memory. She's a fully developed character we come to loathe and hate just as much as we hate Rebecca, if not more. Also, terrible people are the husbands. Of course, they both kill their wives. Maxim de Winter kills Rebecca, and Jeremy Crawford first cheats on his wife, then he kills her. And the insanity is the narrators don't seem to care. How can that be? In both cases, they all work together as couples to cheat the police, evade questions, actually cover up a murder, and do that in order to live happily ever after. So, in a way, I appreciate how the husbands come clean with them, with Lowen and the second Mrs. De Winter. Um, at least their new relationships can start on solid, trustworthy place, and doing anything for each other, even covering up crime, must be true love. Is it? Do you see these novels as romances as well? These are all the similarities I could think of. Have you found more? There are, of course, lots of differences as well. Rebecca is a classic, Verity is a contemporary novel. All the characters act normally for their time. Verity is spicy, Rebecca is very constricted by social conventions at the time. Another big difference is the difference in relationships between the narrators and the husbands. Lowen is a mistress. She has an illicit affair with Jeremy Crawford, while Mrs. De Winter is a legitimate wife and does nothing wrong until helping Mr. De Winter covering up his wife's death. Their relationship is always very innocent. Also, when the narrators meet with judgment and rudeness from other people, the husbands react completely differently, and that is due to different times, different types of relationships. While Maxim expects his wife to stand her own ground, fight her own battles, face his neighbors um, without any problems. Jeremy Crawford um, is willing to fight Lowen's battles for her. He is the one defending her against his wife's friends. And as I said, I think that has to do with the kind of relationships they're in. Another thing is that while Rebecca cheats and humiliates her husband, Verity is very much obsessed with hers at the point of being jealous of her own children. And that is another difference. Verity adds a lot, adds an interesting topic of conversation about around motherhood and today's expectations of it. I found that part of the novel very interesting and great to debate around it. And the biggest thing of all is that while Rebecca is always absent and we know her point of view only from others, Verity is very much present because we have her manuscript and her letter, and that stands even though still indirectly we have her own point of view as well. And that's it with the major differences as I see them. Please add your own, please add to the conversation, tell me what you think. Is Verity just a retelling of Rebecca with a little more spice and more contemporary problems? Tell me what you think. And did you love these novels? Or do you feel they don't even compare? I look forward to your opinions. I'm Maria from Read Fine Books. Thank you for watching.